Hey, it's Steve again, calling from my car at work, and this time I am not on break, I'm actually at lunch, and this one's gonna be, I was like, okay, so the story time yesterday about the turning water to wine went pretty well, so I'm gonna do another one that I have not had as much time to think about, but there are insights into that. I don't think they're, specifically written in the Bible, so I'll go into it. And it actually happens to take place right after the water and the wine. If you read the book of John, they spend a few days in Capernaum after that wedding, and then here I am shaking it again. Hang on. Okay, so they spend a couple days in Capernaum waiting for the Passover, or they don't know why they're waiting, but that's why they're waiting, and so that's why Jesus is waiting, and they're waiting with him. So they go to Jerusalem, and right before the Passover, and they go to the temple. And what I was talking about before about like Jesus' gift of foresight and how he used it to pin the water on the bridegroom or whatever, there's also clear evidence that Jesus didn't do this all the time. And here's one of them, is that when he went into the temple, he didn't expect to find it the way that it was. Now there's a few things working here. First of all, going to the temple, what happened back then was that during Passover, you would make a sacrifice. You'd actually have a priest, you'd bring an animal without blemish based off the Torah law, and they would kill it and sprinkle the blood and do some stuff. I don't know what they do exactly, but they do this ritualistic stuff, and then it's supposed to make you clean. And if you don't know what Passover is, it's basically when the Jews were in Egypt, one of the ways they got out of Egypt, God bailed them out real quick. There was the final curse, I think, that killed, again, this isn't something God told me, I'm just trying to remember it, but the final curse killed all the firstborn children. And God had to be fair because he treats everyone impartially. So it was going to kill all the firstborn children of the Jewish people in Egypt. But what he did, he's like, okay, so instead of that, you're actually going to take the firstborn of an animal, like a mammal, or I guess a substantial animal, and you're going to kill that instead. And you're going to kill that and then rub the blood on the door of your house. And then the angel that goes around killing all the firstborn children is going to pass over your house because you've already killed the firstborn of that animal. The death of that animal is going to take the place of the death of your child. So saith the Lord. So, okay, so that's Passover. That actually happened. And then ever since then, they celebrate that, time of the year by doing this. So, okay, so flash forward 2,000 or however many thousands of years later, they're in Jerusalem. People do this. It's a tradition that apparently Jesus was not aware of, because when he got there, see, one of the things, it says he made a whip. So if he knew what he was going to find there, he would have already had a whip. But what he did, he literally walked in, was horrified, angrier than anybody probably has ever been angry before. He found cords that are used to make baskets, just what he could find on site. And these aren't long cords either, so he probably spent hours making this whip. So this isn't like he had self-control. This is cold anger is what he had. He was very meticulous, and when he was making that whip, he knew exactly what he was going to do with it for however long it took him to make it. And when he used it, you have to think too, there's Roman soldiers there, and the Roman soldiers are decked out with like armor and shields and swords, and there's definitely more than one of them. So he comes in, he's in his Jesus robe with a whip, and somehow he's able to clear out the entire courtyard. And if you think about how this would work out, like if you try to play in your head, you just can't, because you don't know how a person would have to behave such that fully armed soldiers, multiple of them, doesn't come and take him captive or whatever and throw him in jail. They run. Like everybody runs. And there's a few things going on here. So one of them is that all the animals that can walk, the oxen, the sheep, he drives out with the people, but with the doves, which is what poor people buy to sacrifice, basically, because you can't afford a big animal to sacrifice. So he doesn't actually destroy any of the property. So the animals that are there to be sacrificed, he actually doesn't hurt them. And with the doves, they got to go back in their cages, because they fly away, the people that own the doves would lose them. So he gives them time. Basically, he's going around. Nobody knows why he's doing this. Nobody knows. Not even the disciples know. But when he gets to the people with the doves, he stops and he gives them time to put the doves back in their cage. But he doesn't just sit there and wait and like tap his foot and like check the clock or whatever. He's however he's saying it and however kind of voice he's using, he tells them basically that this place, what they're doing to this place and why he's doing this, and like this just can't happen anymore. So one of the things too, like anybody that's there, it's no big deal to any of these people because, you know, maybe like 2,000 years ago it would have been a big deal to those people, but this is something they do every year. Like this is just common practice. And the fact that Jesus didn't know about this means that Jesus didn't do his yearly, pilgrimage to Jerusalem to do the Passover. In fact, he's never done it. He's like 30 years old, and he's never done this before. And he didn't come with an animal. He wasn't going to buy an animal, and I bet you for certain he made sure the disciples didn't come with anything. So, you know, you can read into that however you want, like maybe that he understands that Passover is no longer necessary since he's here or something like that. I don't know. But the issue is that he protects the animals, he doesn't hurt the animals, and that the money changers, he pours the money all on the ground. So the money changers don't have the opportunity to take the money with them like the dove people do. And once the money's on the ground, everybody's cleared out of the temple, that gives people opportunity later on to come and take the money that's on the ground. So it's kind of, I don't know, but it's like you kind of take the money from rich people and then poor people can come collect the money that needed or whatever, that kind of thing. So there's that kind of thing going on. It's not precisely like that, but there's that kind of thing going on. And he overthrows the tables. Now, another thing you'll notice about this is he doesn't actually hurt anybody. There's no violence performed. He has the threat of the whip, but nobody's harmed. So there's definitely the intention that he's going to harm people, but he doesn't. So, okay. So there's all this. I'm sure there's other stuff going on that I'm not aware of or being told about. But the last part is that, which is really cool. I don't know if people emphasize this enough. But once the whole place is cleared out, including the disciples, it's just Jesus and the entire temple, and it's only him. From far, far away, some cocky Jew or groups of Jews, they're like, you know, like, why? He's like, what gives you the right to do this? Blah, 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 blah. And not even answering their question. Basically, he's like, you know, oh, you want to know why I can do this? It's like, come try me. It's like, try to kill me. I double dog dare you. Do it, and you'll know exactly why I have the right to do this, because he can raise from the dead. And so they don't understand what he's saying, but he basically doesn't even give them a reason. He's just like, just come try me. It's like, I'll show you, just come try me. And they don't understand it. They think he's talking about the temple that he just cleared out, because he says, you know, destroy the sanctuary, and he's talking about his body because it's the sanctuary of the Holy Spirit, but they think he's talking about the sanctuary of the temple because they don't realize there's a crossover yet. The human race doesn't realize until after Jesus leaves that the temple, God in temples, is now God's Spirit